Some houses are remembered for their beauty, others are remembered for what happened inside them. But deep in St. Francisville, Louisiana, behind ancient oak trees and southern charm, stands a mansion that many believe has never truly belonged only to the living. The Myrtles Plantation looks peaceful at first glance. White columns, wide porches, a grand old home wrapped in Spanish moss and silence. But for generations, visitors have claimed that something walks its halls after dark. Footsteps echo where no one is standing. Mirrors seem to hold faces that should not be there. Children laugh in empty rooms, and some guests have checked in for the night, only to leave before morning. This is the story of the Myrtles Plantation, a place often called one of the most haunted homes in America. The Myrtles Plantation was built in 1796 by General David Bradford, a man who had fled Pennsylvania after his involvement in the Whiskey Rebellion. Looking for safety and a fresh start, he settled in Louisiana and built a grand home on land that would eventually become one of the most infamous haunted locations in the country. At the time, the estate was known as Laurel Grove. Like many southern plantations of the era, its history is tied to wealth, power, slavery, family tragedy, and death. And over more than 2 centuries, those layers of history would become tangled with stories of restless spirits. The house passed through different owners over the years, but it was the Woodruff family who became central to one of the plantation's most famous legends. According to the story, a young enslaved woman named Chloe worked in the home during the early 1800s. The legend says Chloe became involved with the master of the house, Judge Clark Woodruff. When their relationship ended, Chloe feared she would be sent away from the main house and forced into harsher labor in the fields. Then the story takes a darker turn. Chloe was supposedly caught listening at doors, and as punishment, one of her ears was cut off. From then on, she allegedly wore a green turban to hide the injury. Desperate to regain favor with the family, Chloe is said to have baked a cake laced with poison, not intending to kill anyone, but hoping to make the family sick so she could nurse them back to health and restore her place in the household. But the plan went horribly wrong. The legend claims that Woodruff's wife, Sarah, and 2 of their children ate the cake and died. Afterward, Chloe was supposedly hanged by the other enslaved people on the plantation, then thrown into the Mississippi River. Today, many visitors believe Chloe still haunts the Myrtles Plantation. She is often described as a woman wearing a green turban, appearing near the house or standing silently in the shadows. Some claim she has been photographed. Others say they have felt her presence before ever hearing her story. But here's where the mystery deepens. Historians have questioned parts of the Chloe legend. Some records do not clearly support the story in the way it is often told. Names, dates, and details vary depending on the version. And yet, the legend remains. Whether Chloe was a real person, a distorted memory, or a ghost story born from the plantation's painful past, her presence has become inseparable from the identity of the Myrtles. But Chloe is only one part of the haunting. One of the most unsettling features inside the home is a large mirror that has become famous among paranormal investigators and ghost hunters. According to legend, the mirror contains the spirits of Sarah Woodruff and her children. In old Southern tradition, mirrors were sometimes covered after a death to prevent the soul of the deceased from becoming trapped inside. The story says that after Sarah and her children died, this mirror was not properly covered, and because of that, their spirits never left. Visitors have claimed to see strange handprints appear on the glass. Others report seeing childlike figures, smudges that return after cleaning, or shadowy faces reflected behind them. Some say the mirror feels different from the rest of the room, colder, heavier, almost watchful. And that is what makes the Myrtles so unnerving. It is not only the big dramatic stories that disturb people, it is the small things. A door opening by itself, a shape passing at the edge of vision, the sense that someone is standing too close behind you. For overnight guests, the stories become even more personal. Many visitors have reported hearing footsteps moving across the floors late at night, even when no one else is nearby. Some describe the sound as slow and deliberate, as if someone is pacing through the house with a purpose. Others claim to hear voices speaking in empty rooms. Some have heard children laughing. Some say they have been touched by unseen hands. And in certain rooms, guests have reported waking up with the overwhelming feeling that they are being watched. One of the most talked about spirits at the Myrtles is believed to be a young girl. Guests have claimed to see her near the staircase or in the hallway, sometimes appearing only for a moment before vanishing. There are stories of children's handprints appearing on surfaces. There are stories of beds shaking. There are stories of people seeing figures at the foot of their bed in the middle of the night. And then there is the staircase. The main staircase inside the Myrtles is often connected to sightings and strange sensations. Some visitors say they feel dizzy near it. Others claim to have seen figures moving up or down the steps, only to disappear before reaching the bottom. The house has also become known for reports of a woman in white, a common figure in hauntings across the world. At the Myrtles, she is said to drift through rooms or appear near the property, silent and mournful. But perhaps the most chilling part of the plantation's reputation is the number often repeated in connection with it. Some versions of the legend claim that as many as 10 murders occurred on the property. That number has helped fuel the plantation's haunted reputation for decades. But historically, only one murder is firmly documented at the Myrtles Plantation: the death of William Winter. Winter was an attorney who lived at the plantation after marrying into the family that owned it. In 1871, he was shot on the porch by an unknown attacker. After being wounded, the story says he staggered inside and tried to climb the staircase, calling out for his wife. He made it partway up before collapsing. According to legend, his final footsteps can still be heard on those stairs. Guests and staff have claimed to hear slow, heavy steps climbing upward, stopping suddenly at the same step where Winter is believed to have died. That detail is one of the most powerful pieces of lore connected to the house, because unlike some of the plantation's ghost stories, Winter's murder was real. And that reality gives the haunting a sharper edge. Because even if someone doubts the legends of Chloe or the haunted mirror, the story of William Winter is anchored in documented violence. A man was shot. He stumbled inside. He tried to reach his family, and he never made it. Over time, the Myrtles Plantation became more than a historic home. It became a destination for ghost hunters, skeptics, paranormal enthusiasts, and curious travelers from around the country. Part of its power comes from the way it blends beauty and dread. In daylight, the house can look almost dreamlike. The grounds are elegant, the architecture is striking, the trees give the property a timeless southern atmosphere. But at night, that same beauty changes. The long porches become shadowed corridors. The old rooms feel closed in. The past seems closer, and the stories begin to feel less like stories. That is what makes haunted places like the Myrtles so compelling. They exist in the space between history and folklore. Some details can be verified, some cannot. Some stories have changed over time. Others may have been exaggerated, repeated or reshaped by generations of visitors. But the emotional truth of the place remains powerful. The Myrtles Plantation was built in a world marked by deep suffering and inequality. The land carries the memory of slavery, death, family loss, violence, and the passing of countless lives through its rooms. Whether the hauntings are supernatural or psychological, the house forces people to confront something uncomfortable. Old places do not forget easily, and sometimes, neither do we. The Myrtles has been featured in books, television shows, paranormal investigations, and countless personal accounts. Many visitors arrive hoping to see something. Some leave disappointed. Others leave convinced they experienced something they cannot explain. A strange figure in a photograph, a whisper in the dark, a door moving when no one touched it, a face in the mirror, a child's laugh in an empty hallway. These are the details that keep the legend alive. Not because every story can be proven, but because enough people have walked into that house and felt the same thing, that they were not alone. And maybe that is the true reason the Myrtles Plantation continues to fascinate people. It is not just about ghosts, it is about the fear that history still has a voice. It is about the possibility that grief can stain a place. It is about the feeling you get when you stand inside an old room and suddenly realize that hundreds of lives have passed through it before you. Some peacefully, some tragically, and some perhaps unwilling to leave. Today, the Myrtles Plantation operates as a historic site and bed and breakfast, welcoming guests who want to experience its beauty, its history, and its infamous reputation firsthand. Some come for the architecture, some come for the legends, some come hoping to meet Chloe. Others come to stare into the haunted mirror and see if something stares back. But no matter why they arrive, everyone comes face to face with the same question. Is the Myrtles Plantation truly haunted? Or has its dark past become so powerful that the living bring the ghosts with them? Maybe the answer depends on who you ask. A skeptic might say the sounds are just an old house settling. A historian might say the legends have grown larger than the facts. But a guest who wakes in the middle of the night to footsteps outside their door might tell you something very different. Because in a place like the Myrtles, belief can change quickly. All it takes is one unexplained sound, one shadow in the hallway, one reflection in the mirror that does not belong. For more than 200 years, the Myrtles Plantation has stood through war, death, ownership changes, tragedy, and time itself. And still, the stories continue. The woman in the green turban, the children in the mirror, the footsteps on the stairs, the voices in empty rooms, the feeling of being watched by someone just beyond sight. Maybe they are legends, maybe they are memories, or maybe, behind the beauty of this old Louisiana mansion, something still lingers. Something that never crossed over. Something that still walks the halls after dark. And if the stories are true, then the Myrtles Plantation is not just a historic home. It is a doorway into the past, a place where tragedy refuses to fade, and where the dead may still be waiting for someone to listen. If you enjoy dark history, haunted legends, and chilling stories from America's most mysterious places, subscribe to Terrifyingly Haunted. Because some houses are abandoned by the living, but others are never abandoned by the dead.